What's up, y'all? I got a whole shit ton of things that I'm really supposed to be doing this afternoon, but I kind of got tired of all that. I said, fuck that, I'm gonna make another video. And of course I said, I'm gonna see can I avoid taking it down to New Orleans quite as much as I did with the last one that I made, and well, we'll see about that. Anyway, so I've been making a few videos here and there about the bull, and it occurred to me that some of y'all cats have no idea who the bull is and what is its place in my life. Well, so of course, here it is. Here we have the bull. The bull is a 1970 Ford Torino GT. And here's where everybody says, what? Everybody says that. Nobody has any fucking idea what this vehicle is. And, well, you're in good company if you don't. But I have always tended to lack the thing that nobody else gives a shit for. And, well, story of my life and all that is one of the earlier manifestations of that. Anyway, mid-sized sedan, muscle car. Ford built this thing to compete with the likes of the Chevelle, the GTO, the Roadrunner, things like that. Now see, if you got a Chevelle, or you got a GTO, or you got a Roadrunner, I mean, maybe you got a pot of gold. If you have a Torino, on the other hand, well, you have a shitty old car. So here you are. I have a shitty old car. Anyway, one thing about this one is that this happens to be the one. This is the old original, the same one that got me hooked on the whole muscle car scene back in the ancient days, the late 1980s when I was in high school. Turning wrenches, street racing, all that shit. Yeah, this right here is the one. I'm one of two human beings I personally know who has the very same old original car that they had when they were in high school. But yeah, 1970 Torino GT, 429 Cobra Jet, 4-speed. That's what I was determined to have, and that is what I got. I tore the whole town of Waco, Texas apart looking for it. Never had heard of these things, but my brother started making noise about them, and my brother is great about making noise about shit that then goes on and fucks up my life. And well, I suppose here we have another example of that. There's this cat named Upmore up in the old little town of Elmont, which was a few miles up the interstate from the little working class neighborhood I grew up in. And he said, man, he said, this cat's got this badass old Ford muscle car called a Torino. It was actually a Fairlane, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, he said, man, that car's badass. And so I went and looked at it, and I said, man, that thing looks like shit. That is straight up fucking terrible. And a little later, I'm like, man, that thing looks like ass. And so I had to go look at it again. And, well, as they say, the rest is history. So I had to have myself one, and so I start tearing everything apart looking for it. I looked and I looked 18 months, maybe 2 years, pimping my little Pinto, my little 1978 beige Ford Pinto station wagon. Holy sweet Jesus, did I truly drive such a thing, Mother of God? Fuck. Anyway, yeah, I pimped that little thing all around the old working class neighborhoods of Waco, Texas, trying to find myself a Torino up on blocks beside somebody's house. And then what you know, who gets into it? Again, my brother. 1986, Thanksgiving holidays, he comes around and he says, hey man, I was just going out to shoot some animal or something, and on the way back, I happened to be passing through this little town called Hubbard. out to the east of Waco, and he said, I swear to God, I saw a Torino GT sitting off on the side of some cat's house out there. And I'm like, really? And as I did in those days, bam, I mean, probably about an hour later, I'm burning up the highway, my little Pinto, to go out there and see what's what. And sure enough, there it was. Right there beside some cat's house, dark green, of all things, 1970 Torino GT. And I go up, as I would do at the time, just knock on the damn door out of nowhere, apropos of nothing. And I asked that cat, Terry Eskind was his name, I still remember it. Worked for Ford Motor Company, in fact. And so I says, you won't sell that car? And he said, well, it's your lucky day. I've been thinking about it. And so it began. And it turned out, 429 Cobra Jet, 4-speed. And that is fucking it. No AC. Barely has a heater. AM radio. Bench seat. Just nothing. But that damn 429 Cobra Jet and the 4-speed. Got my first job to get this car. Literally. My God, that was something maybe I should have thought about a little bit. Anyway, yep. Thanksgiving weekend in 1986, I first saw it. Good Lord, what was that? No, that was the last weekend of January 1987. Went out there to get it. My grandfather in his 1979, by that time, probably Ford Fairmont station wagon. Went out there to get it, tow it, back to Waco. Anyway, yeah, I'm rambling on. But, yeah, this is the very one. I learned to throw wrenches working on this car. Learned to drive manual transmission on this car, which even as injured as it was in those days, that's a shit ton of torque coming out of that thing. And when you really don't know how to manage a clutch, that was the trailblazing way to learn to drive manual transmission. But yeah, I did all that, gimped it around for a year. Then came the summer, 1987, summer between my junior and senior years of high school. And I was tired of being shit on. It's like, all right, all y'all motherfuckers. It's like, yeah, you talk shit about this shitty old green Ford thing, whatever the fuck. It's like, I'm gonna shut your asses up. And so I grabbed a little bit of money that my mother had set aside to send me to college. Oh, and I yanked the engine out of this bitch and I hauled it over to this cat named Ted Eaton. Ted Eaton, known all throughout Central Texas. Building and balancing engines. Well-earned reputation. I gave him that engine and I told him, I said, all right, here's my budget. And in those days, it was an amount of money you could work with. I mean, now it would barely get you a set of fucking cylinder heads, but in those days, yeah, it was something you could work with. And well, about 6 weeks later, he gave me a call and says, all right, it's ready, come get it. Old friend Dolan Spencer and I, we drove over there in his truck and we fetched that engine. Yeah, he was the poor son of a bitch who always ended up coming over to get involved in my fucking quagmires. I guess I'll owe him for as long as I owe anybody for all that shit he did back in those days. But anyway, so yeah, we got that engine, hauled it back, stuffed it in there, minus the throwout bearing, which was a whole other story. So we got to pull the transmission out again and put the throwout bearing in, and then it worked fine. And of course, immediately spit the drive shaft out of it and broke a fucking U-joint. Torque, you know, this thing. And then I show up first day of school. End of August of 1987, my senior year. Out there at Conley High School, there was a divided highway ran along the, God, I guess it was maybe the west side of that building. And, divided highway crossovers about an 1/8 mile apart. And so that was, that was fucking drag strip. Every day at lunch, that was drag strip. And I'd been out there a little bit before and just got utterly demolished. People were shitting all over me. It was terrible. And well, there in 87, I came back and it was a little different. They set them up and I took them down. Yeah, that was different. Till I got to old Ray Tucker, and then that got a little different. Ray Tucker. He had upgunned a little bit for the senior year himself, 1970. Chevrolet Chevelle Super Sport LS6. Yeah, no shit. The people who know are like, what the fuck? Say, yep. Yeah, you could find those things. You could find them pretty much easily enough. Back 1987, you might pay $2,000 or $3,000 for one. Multiply that by 10 to 20 by this point for one in about the condition he had it in. Yeah, old Ray Tucker's the one I couldn't beat. The only time I ever beat him was when he was having some problem or other. We were close, though. We were close. He'd win, but I'd be hanging onto his rear bumper. If I hadn't had a fucking manual transmission, it might have been a little closer than that. But I ain't going to try to take his due from him. Now, he won damn near all of those races. Still, his car's gone down the road. And the old bull is still here. Sometimes I kind of wish the old bull had gone down the road too. Then I wouldn't have this motherfucking Passchendaele. Oh my Lord. That makes my life 10 miles of bad road about one day out of 3. Anyway. Oh, there's so much history in this damn vehicle. This pile of metal and rust. But after all these years, it's still here. More reliable than just about any other human being I've known, which shoved me in the shallow water before I get too deep and all that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it up a while longer. Maybe one of these days I'll actually see the road again. Maybe someday it'll be what it should be. But for the moment, I guess I kind of run down, reminiscing, remembering what was, the life I lived, things now gone, except for this one thing that remains. I should get over myself and go drink liquor.